Hey guys, Jacob with Jacob Comics. Alright, we got a really fun episode today. We're going to be reviewing The Amazing Spider Man number 3. And before we get dived into that with that really cool cover, I thought it was an instant classic cover. I do want to let you guys know about our 300 subscriber giveaway. And when we hit 300 subscribers, we're going to be giving this book away. It's Absolute Carnage number 1, store exclusive Murderos variant. Check it out, it's pretty cool. And all you have to do is like, comment, and be subscribed to the channel on this video, and that'll give you a chance to win. When we hit 300 subscribers, we'll raffle it off, and somebody will win the book. Alright guys, let's get dived on into the review. Now, as you know, we always got to cover a couple of things before we get completely dived into the review. And so the first off, I do want to let you guys know we're going to go heavy into spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled for Amazing Spider-Man number 3, that's your warning. All right, next off, we always got to shout off the creative team, because without the creative team, we wouldn't have a comic book. So first off, we have Zeb Wells as the writer. The pencils are done by John Romita Jr. Scott Hanna is doing the inks. And Marcio Menez is doing the colors. And VC's Joe Caramagna is the letterer. All right, and we have a foreword here that reads, Peter Parker has the proportional speed, strength, and agility of a spider, adhesive fingertips and toes, and the unique precognitive awareness of danger called spider sense. After the tragic death of his Uncle Ben, Peter Parker understood that with great power, there must also come great responsibility. He became the crime-fighting superhero called The Amazing Spider-Man. 6 months ago, Peter Parker did something, and now he has to live with the consequences. His debts have racked up. He's burned bridges with most of his friends, and he's betrayed Aunt May's trust. And MJ has moved on from him. Throwing himself into his responsibilities as Spider-Man, Peter Parker stopped an arms deal between Tombstone and the Roses gangs. Spider-Man's interference drew Tombstone's strength and territory into question and made him look weak to the rest of the New York City criminal underworld. To reassert himself, Tombstone single-handedly took out Crime Master and his gang. Spider-Man confronted Tombstone, unknowingly playing right into a trap laid for the webhead. And so, I believe the first time ever, we're introduced to the character of MJ's new boyfriend. And because he says, it's fine, MJ, I'm just gonna talk to him. Do I seem like a violent guy? And you don't get MJ because he's on the phone with her. You just get him. He says, do I seem like a violent guy? Okay, but he deserved that. I promise. We're just gonna talk. I'm here to talk to you later. Love you too. So, if you're kind of reading into it, you read as though she had said I love you to him on the phone, because he responds love you too. And then someone comes up from behind him, says, who are you looking for? He says, I'm looking for Peter Parker. The guy goes like, so am I. He actually owes me some money, and I'm here to collect on that debt. And surprisingly enough, or not surprisingly enough, Peter Parker, or Mary Jane picks her boyfriend's well. He's a really nice guy, and he asks like how much, and the guy's like, you don't want to know. And he says, all right, well, how much money to let you leave him alone for a couple weeks? And the guy's like, are you for real? And he's like, no, yeah, I'm for real. And pulls out his phone, and the guy's like, fine, I'll take 1,500 to get off his back for a little while from the medical bills. And so MJ's new boyfriend pays the $1,500 to get the medical loan shark off Peter Parker's back. And then he says, like, he's kind of worried about Peter, actually, and he hopes he's okay. And then we go to Peter, who is just getting completely, he's getting beat up, guys. He's chained up, as you can see, and Tombstone kind of waylays into him, and kind of talks. Tombstone kind of talks about how he doesn't see himself as a bad guy. He sees himself actually as somebody that's just taken what was already rightfully his, which obviously he's wrong. He's stealing, but he sees it differently. He grew up real bad, and he kind of wishes that Peter Parker maybe saw saw his upbringing and saw how bad it was and stuff. As he kind of keeps beating him up, his guys come down. They got roses, and we'll see why they have roses later. and and then we get Randy and his girlfriend, and they're in upstate New York at a diner. Looks like a Mexican food restaurant. It says Taconic. I don't know. And so they're there eating, having drinks, and he's kind of like talking about how he wants to. He could see himself with her for the rest of their lives and all that, and she ends up proposing to him, and he gets flustered, and but he says yes, and at the end here he says, now I really have to get a hold of my dad. And so he's trying to call him, and he says it's ringing so weird he's not answering. Then we go back to Peter Parker getting beat up in the sewers, and Tombstone's kind of getting his men all set up with roses and everything like that. And you know, he ends up go ahead and telling Peter Parker here that like he doesn't want to be called a bad guy, and it's kind of a good line here. So I'll go ahead and read a little bit of it here. He says, "You're gonna blame that on a sore tooth?" Spider-Man says to him, and Tombstone says, "What I'm saying is, a dog bites a man, and you ask who's been kicking the dog. A man bleeds another man, and you ask how big a cage you should throw him in, because he's bad. I know it keeps you all nice and cozy, feeling real proud of yourself, but it makes you wonder, what kind of good guy gives less thought to a man than an animal? And then Spider-Man says to him, you don't want to be called a bad guy, got it? Can I go?" And Tombstone says, "You're missing the point. You've already decided what I am, and haven't spent a second asking why I am." Spider-Man replies, "Okay, Alonzo, why are you?" And he says, "That's a great question." And they don't answer it, but it's a good line. And so then we get the guy from the previous pages, Randy's father, who's I believe he's a detective, I think, Mr. Robertson, and so he's kind of been kidnapped in his limousine, and the White Rabbit sits next to him and is like, basically, you're coming with me. So he's been kidnapped. That's why he wasn't answering his phone. And then Tombstone kind of continues. He says, "People think filing my teeth was a strange choice. Wasn't a choice at all." And they kind of do like a flashback sequence here with some completely different art. So I wanted to show some of that. And it's different. It's of Tombstone as a child. Apparently he was a mute. He didn't talk. People kind of beat him up, and made fun of him, and they would beat him up and try to get him to say uncle because he didn't speak. And apparently, like he ended up filing his teeth after being beat up so many times, like so that he'd have a weapon. And then kind of like bites one of the bully's ears that was bullying him as a child. And uh, and then it shows like as he gets older, he kind of keeps taking from people basically because people didn't give him anything when he was younger, and the only way that he found that he could get anything was by taking it and fighting the good guys that would never understand. And so he's like, that there ain't no sin a man can commit in the proceedings of feeding himself. And so that's kind of his stance. Like, I can do anything I want to make my way in this world, basically. He's, he's very full of himself, or self centered, whatever. And then a bunch of guys show up all dressed like the Rose's men, and Spider Man's like, "What's all this? The Rose's men?" And Tombstone says, "Ha, that's just what all your friends are gonna think. See, a good guy got me into this mess, and the good guys are gonna get me out. My men dressed up like the Rose's goons and are gonna go on a little rampage. Shoot up 125th Street. As far as anyone will know, the Rose will have ordered a massacre. One of your friends will see the carnage and take care of Richie Fisk for me. Captain America, Daredevil, I don't care." Spider Man says, "Tombstone, this is crazy. You don't want to do this. Civilians, they have nothing to do with this." Tombstone says, "Neither did you, but here you are." And Spider Man says, "You can't." And he's trapped in chains and can't get out. And all of the men start leaving. They're like, "We're moving, lock and load." Tombstone says, "Before you die, I want you to know I've got your old friend Robbie Robertson. Gonna show him what happens when this kid tries to take my daughter. I'll say hi for him before I break him in two. Kill him." And leaves some men to kill Spider-Man. And Spider-Man says, "Don't do this. Lonnie, stop. I've learned my lesson. I've learned my lesson." And Tombstone says, "Bet you have, champ. But it's too late to save the day." Spider-Man says, "Come back. Do you hear me? Stop." And we get this final panel here of Spider, Tombstone leaving, and Spider-Man handcuffed, and the goons are pointing a gun at him. So how's our hero gonna get out of this mess, right? That's how they leave us. All right, man. I don't know. This issue kind of. What is going on with Mary Jane? We have not gotten any. I mean, obviously, that's like the teaser. That's what's keeping you invested. Or the biggest, reveal from season one, from the first, like, 12 to 16 issue arc. Oh, man. I'm not sure what is going on right now. And I'm. Tombstone's motivate, like, okay, his backstory was okay and it wasn't too terrible. I kind of felt like I just couldn't connect with his motivations, though. I didn't, they didn't provide a solid enough reasoning there. I thought that he's anything more than a chump, than a bad guy chump that Spider-Man needs to take care of and throw in jail, right? Other like he just kind of seemed like a bad guy. Yeah, I don't know. If they were trying, I guess that's what I should say. If they were trying to somehow make him sympathetic, it didn't exactly work. I kind of get it. I think they would have had to go a bit more into why he didn't get, like, he says I didn't get food. He didn't get food, and no one fed him or something, and he's like, I was hungry and I just stopped talking. I'm not sure. I think I would have liked to maybe if they would have expanded upon that a bit more and explained that situation more, then I could have understood why, you know what I'm saying, why he then became mute, and then after becoming mute and being bullied and beat up, decided to file his teeth. Anyways, let's move on from that. Um, Outside of that, I'm interested in what's going on in the issue. Um, I'm trusting that Wells is leading us somewhere, and the art by Ramita Jr. in this issue was maybe a step back from two. I don't know. There was some good parts, and I also kind of thought when I was reading a lot of it, I feel like it might have been also hard for Ramita when being asked by Wells, hey, this issue Spider-Man's pretty much going to be in chains the entire time, with his, chained in the two handcuffs on his ankles and two on it, you know what I mean, and that's pretty much, he's not going to be out of that the entire issue, so you're going to have to draw him like that the entire time. And so that doesn't really give the artist a whole lot of free reign to play with their main character or do a whole lot. So kind of hard to judge. There was a cool splash panel there that I showed. Yeah. I give it a thumbs up. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just getting a thumbs up. But it still gets a thumbs up because I want to see what's going on with Mary Jane. Like that's really got me curious. That's where I'm like. Additionally, I guess another point to throw out. What did Peter do in the last 6 months? Right? Um, they hint that it was pretty terrible or bad or whatever, but they haven't expanded upon that either. So I guess those are like the big looming questions that are keeping me invested. And if you look too, we're at Legacy 897, so we're only 3 issues away from what I'm assuming is going to be some sort of really big extravaganza issue, and possibly give us some more insight as to what's been going on. All right, that's what I have today. So Amazing Spider-Man number 3 gets a thumbs up. Remember, like the video, comment down below, and you'll get your chance to win the Absolute Carnage number 1 Murderos store exclusive variant. And click the link below and shop on my eBay store, and I'll send you some comic books. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow, and have a great day.